Is it possible to create your life the same way as an artist creates his masterpiece? I strongly believe that yes. And in today's episode, we will talk how exactly you can do that and what tools you can use. So, hi everyone, my name is Slavomira Harcegova. You are watching Arts Vivendi by Slavomira, and my today's guest is midlife strategist Kay Newton. She is an award winning international speaker. She is an author and co author of a few books. She is a blogger and artist, and I'm really happy to invite her into today's show. Hi, Kay. How are
Slavomir,
you?
thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I'm so pleased to be here.
Yes, I'm excited too because recently I read one of your books. It's this the art of midlife stress busting. You can show her if you
I've
have
got I've
her.
got a copy here.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's what I mean. And I was so excited by reading it because I realized that you have the same perspective on creating our life. I'm talking about the art of living, and you are talking about painting your canvas. So I'm really glad that we can dive deeper into this topic today. But before we will do that, please share your story. How did you become a midlife strategist?
So it's interesting, isn't it? I don't think I ever really became a midlife strategist. It's just one of those things that sort of grew with me. And yeah, I can remember, we can all remember defining points in our lives. But I can remember sitting with a girlfriend one summer and we were watching the children play in the swimming pool together. So my oldest son must have been about 9 years old. And there was that big realization that at some point they were going to fly the nest. And what was I going to do with myself when they'd flown? And if I'd done my job properly, they were definitely going to be flying the nest. And I found life coaching, and I've been coaching ever since. And I started coaching teenagers to begin with, and then realized that number one, they don't have the money, and number two, it's the parents that actually needed more coaching than the kids. And so I moved to coaching women, and my age group that I coach has really grown with me. I'm coming up to my 60th year now, so 60 years worth of life experience and helping younger people, even if it's only a few years younger, get to the next stage and make life a happier place. Hence the book on being a midlife stress busting artist. So I hope that helps.
Yes, sure. And I would like to talk more about your strategy because if you are a strategist, so what kind of strategy you are using? And I'm sure that it would work not only for the midlife women.
So strategy is a big word. I like it much better than coaching because coaching's one section, mentoring's another. And if you're mentoring, you're not coaching. And if you're coaching, you're not mentoring. So strategy allows me to really help and define what that individual person needs from me. And then it's about, for me more than anything, creating a safe space where they can explore where they are in their lives and what they want to do next. It's got nothing to do with me. Nobody needs fixing. It's just about finding space and creating that space so that you can go ahead and do what you need to do in simple steps. And that's also key. I love simplicity, and I love doing things step by step so that you don't get overwhelmed and then end up not doing anything.
Can you please share more about these steps?
So in the book, in The Art of Midlife Stress Busting, I lay down just 7 steps. So again, it comes down to not being complicated, taking the step-by-step process. And the one thing that I love about the book, and I don't know, you, Slavomir, have probably noticed as well, it's extremely small and thin. And for some people, they think, wow, that's not very good. It's very, very tiny, and I'm not getting my value from it. But the concept is, you read a chapter whilst you're drinking a cup of coffee, just like this one here, or a cup of tea. And then when you've done it, you can go off and do the work. You have time for the work. Reading is not where change is going to happen. It's in doing the exercises. And so that's where the concept came from, the book. And that's the idea, is that you're doing very small work on a regular basis so that you can paint that canvas.
We can talk even more about what are specific challenges for midlife age women, and then we can talk more about what specific steps we can take, where we can start.
So we're all unique and individual, as I've said earlier, and we've all got our life experiences. And for lots of us, those life experiences can feel like those big midlife millstones. We stick them on our shoulders and we carry them around with us forever. And unless we remove them, we're stopping ourselves from leading our best life. And so it's very much, and all the things that can happen can be things like not dealing with your children leaving home, which is a natural process, but then realizing that you're suffering from emptiness syndrome. It could be that your parents are ill and you're having your sandwich between your kids and your parents. It could be financial issues. All these things cause us to have stress. And that's the biggest killer for us, as far as I'm concerned, on the planet at the moment, is stress. And so if we can delete our stress as best we can live a better life. And so the art of midlife stress busting is 7 steps. And if you want to think about it in relation to a canvas, so we have a blank canvas, that's when we're born. And then we start and paint our stories on top of it. And you may get to sort of midlife and look at your canvas and go, heck, I don't like that. Or that's really not me anymore. Or, these experiences are really black and dark, and I really want to have a bright light. And how do you do that? Well, you start and take some steps, just like any other artist has over the past. And you start to repaint your canvas. And that's what the book's all about.
Yes, I love this metaphor. Like, we are just like painters, like an artist. If we don't like what we created until now, so we can change that.
Yeah, and when you're painting, and you can look at any of these amazing masterpieces in the past, and they do this, they look at them through infrared and other means to see what was underneath the finished picture. And there's all sorts of paint in the way. So there's nothing to stop you painting on top of your canvas. And, if there's something that you don't like, you may even want to change your canvas completely. You don't have to, though. You can paint over it. Nothing is set in stone. It's not stone we're dealing with. It's paint. And you can definitely do different things that allows you to create the reality that you want.
I would like you to share more about these steps, because I was really enjoying reading this book, and I know that work, because I'm using the same method like in other way, and this is what I love about life and about different people using different tools, and we can share, so we can learn from each other. So please share these steps.
So without going into huge detail, but the first thing you've got to do is you've really got to make a decision about what you want to change. And quite a lot of that is going to be mindset change. It's going to be about stuff that's going on inside your head. And unfortunately, we can't get to our head. It's not like our wardrobe, which we can declutter and de-stress by just opening the door, taking everything out, giving everything a dust, putting back what we want. We can't do that. There's no zip here that allows us to take our brain out. So we have to do different processes. And one of the processes is the realization. It's to really start and think, okay, what do I have to do? And the first thing is you have to become aware. 95% of the people in the world, probably 99% of the people in the world, do not spend time inside their head. They spend a lot more time organizing their wardrobes and holidays and the kids and all the other stuff, but we don't take time inside. So the first one is to really become aware of what you've done, where you've got to. So it's like doing a life audit in many ways. And, ask yourself some really important questions. Questions in the book, so I'm just looking at the book here. What does it feel like if you just stopped and sat for a while? Or what do you feel like when you stop and don't do anything? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? And do you sometimes get that feeling that you've missed out on something? These are some of the deep questions that are involved in the first section, which is really just about taking a little bit of time to become aware of where you are and what areas that you may want to paint again. So that's stage one. And step two is just making sure that you've got the right tools, really. And tools for doing this type of work, you can imagine a canvas. You need to get your paints, and you may need a rag. You've got to decide what type of paint you're going to use, whether you're going to use acrylics or oil paints or water paints. And this is a simple type of thing as well. You've got to just spend a little bit of time collecting the things that you want, the tools you need for doing this. And, that could be just looking at your notes, having a journal and a pen and a paper, making sure that you've answered some of those really important questions. And also a big thing that we tend to forget to do, which is celebrate the fact that we're making changes. Celebration's a really good thing for our subconscious mind. It allows us to feel that we're in a good place and in a safe place, and that it gets us excited for wanting to do more. So that's the next step. And then we move on from there. So we have two amazing P's, Slavomira. Can you remember what they are?
Yes, it was perfectionism and procrastination. Yes, because I know both of them. So
exactly. We can be so good at attempting to do something to the perfect that we can do it, which means that we end up redoing it and doing it and redoing it and doing it. So it always reminds me of the child when they first start to draw and they make a mistake, and so they rub it out. And in trying to make it right, they end up putting a hole into the paper. And perfectionism can be a little bit like that as well. You just drive yourself into a real state of being in a hole, a deep hole. And so perfectionism is something that we strive to, but it's not necessarily the best thing to really help us with our stress. So being aware that you may be doing something to a perfection, and is it necessary to do it that far? Can you just do it and move on? So perfection is a big one. And the other one is procrastination, which is quite opposite in many respects. It's not getting started in the first place, finding all those excuses. I think I'll just tidy the cushions on the sofa. Maybe I'll just ring my friend. Oh yes, there was that series on the TV. Anything to stop you looking inside your head. And that's a really, really big one as well. So being aware of them, and awareness is key. That means that then you can start and think about how you want to paint your canvas. Lots of people will be perfect in one little corner, and then they're forgetting about the rest of the canvas. And other people will look at the canvas and just decide it's just not worth it. I'd rather stay in bed for the day. And again, if you're not going to make an effort to change, then nothing will change. Only you can do the change. And then I talk a little bit in step 5 about redecorating or starting anew. And I think that's important as well. For some people, it is important that you really look at your canvas. And if it really is a serious amount of work to change, or it's not looking how you want it to do it at all, nothing's stopping you from changing it completely. I was talking to a client yesterday who's talking about the fact that she seems stuck in her life. She has an amazing dream, but she's not getting anywhere near it. and the only person who's sticking her in it really is herself. And what she needs to do is completely get rid of that canvas and start again. And it's possible. You can do it at any age. So I think that's important to remember as well. And then we talked a little bit, I think, in step 6 about grandmasters. And I think this is, in today's world, is so important as well. We look at people who we think have become famous overnight, and it's not so. And you look at their stories, when you look in deep depth into the hours they've spent to become whatever it is they're very good at, whether it's playing a piano or whether it's becoming a famous pop star or a really good actor. Quite often the hours they've spent in the process of becoming a master in that skill, it's a lifelong learning, and we can all be good grandmasters at our own life.
Yes, I so understand this process because I was there too, and I wish I could read your book sooner because it would help me just to get out of this unpleasant phase of my life sooner. So just
Yeah,
go on.
and the other thing is that, once we've painted our amazing canvas, it's so easy to look at it and go, wow, I've done a really good job. I think I'll maybe just go sit in the sun somewhere, or, I'll just get back on my heels and just relax and enjoy the day. And the next day you look at your painting, you think, do you know what? I'm going to do the same today again. I'm just going to relax and enjoy myself. And about 2 months or maybe a bit longer down the line, you look at your painting and you go, oh, that's got very shabby and very dusty. So this is something you just can't do once and walk away from it. This is a life artist, a life canvas. So you're going to be doing this all your life. And you may just look at one little corner and go, do you know what? That needs a brand new sprinkling of color. Let me think about what I can put in that little corner there. And then you step away from it and you go, now that's added a bit more of brightness to that bit. What do I want to do here? There's a little gap here. Let me add something new, or let me change that. That's completely irrelevant now. I don't need to have that in that painting. I can add something else instead. So walking away from your canvas is not on the cards either. You've got to keep, once you've got your canvas, you've got to keep working at it. And we work at it until the day we die. I think that's the important thing to remember as well.
Yes, this idea of just become an artist and then the life needn't to be so like heavy and I have all this responsibility to decide right and do the right thing. And
Yeah,
so I love this, like become artist and
we get so much thrown at us at midlife. This thing about the fact that we are dealing with quite often with kids and elderly parents, and we do feel sandwiched and stuck in the middle. And that's, external pressure, and that sometimes you can't do anything about that. But you can have a choice in the way you react to it. And that's this thought of you creating a canvas that really reflects that. And it doesn't have to be a big, major upheaval. It can be if you have got to that point in your life where you need to. But it can just be that little touch every day of painting that tiny little flower, or renovating some corner that will change the whole aspect of your canvas over time. And I think that's really important to remember. Taking those little steps create the big work down the line. That's the important thing. It's not going to be today you may see it, but in a year or 2 years or 5 years time, you will see the difference. Yeah.
And if someone feels inspired by your steps and your talking, can you please share more about how you help your clients and where can people find you?
So if you just type into Google Kay Newton, you'll find me. That's the name of my website, kaynewton.com. And you can contact me through the website, no problem whatsoever. The way I work will depend on you. I don't have an expensive program. I don't have a program. I seriously feel that we are all unique and individual, and you will need something different than the next person. So the first thing we need to do is we need to sit and have a conversation and find out if we're a good fit, if you feel comfortable to work with me. And then the next most important thing is for me to give you a safe space for you to do your work. This is your canvas that you're going to create. It is not mine. I can only create a space where you can do your own creating. And I think that's really important. Nobody needs fixing. Nobody needs to be guided by someone else in the sense of being told to do something. This is about you feeling confident enough to say, right now, enough is enough. I've had enough of this. I want to do something different. I may not know what it is, but with Kay's help, I'm going to explore the possibilities, and then I'm going to make a decision about what I'm going to do differently. And then together we can really break down those steps so that you feel confident enough to be able to go off and do the work that's needed without it feeling overwhelmed, and that you get to the point where you don't do anything.
This is so important, that we are unique and there are no blueprint for your life. You need to find out your way, your kind of art, what you would like to paint on your canvas. So thank you very much, Kay, for your
My pleasure.
sharing. And is it something what you would like to tell people at the end?
The only thing I will say to anybody is stress is something that we all have in our lives. We can deal with stress. It doesn't have to be seen as a negative and a bad thing. In fact, some stress we need. Otherwise, we won't. The hormones won't kick in the morning, and we won't even get out of bed. So we need to have a little bit of stress in our lives. We have to learn how to deal with stress. Stress is a modern day killer. And there's lots of simple ways that we can deal with it. It doesn't have to be by going to the doctor and taking pills and potions. This is, something that you can work on yourself slowly and see the difference over time.
Yes, exactly. So thank you very much, Kay. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
My pleasure.
Thank you all for watching, and see you by the next video. Bye.
Bye.